guys. How you guys doing today?
Good afternoon.
Good. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy to be back here in New Hampshire and to see such a great turnout here for the New Hampshire Democrats convention. I think it's this kind of energy that we're starting to feel across the country as people are getting more engaged, and it's the kind of energy that we're seeing out as we travel across the state. It's phenomenal. To whoever's first. I can keep talking if you want.
I wanted to ask you about your deployment overseas.
Yes.
It kind of interrupted your ability to get onto the debate stage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if more of these deployments do happen, is it going to hamper your ability to run for president?
There is a 2-week active service requirement every year for members of the National Guard and Reserve, so that was my fulfillment of that duty and responsibility. I'm grateful to be able to serve our country in uniform, happy to be back on the campaign trail, and very busy and getting right back to it.
I would love to ask you about gender. I've talked to a lot of voters who say it's time for a woman to be president, but they have a fear that when it comes to the general election, they're not sure if a woman will win, especially going up against Trump. I was wondering what your thoughts are on that.
I disagree wholeheartedly. Look, I think there's no question that I believe our country is ready for a woman president, but I think that it's important for us to look past gender as voters are making this decision about who should serve our country as president and commander-in-chief. There is so much to this job. The most important responsibility the president has is to serve as commander-in-chief. So really what matters is experience, understanding, and the capability to be able to fulfill that responsibility for the American people. So looking at Donald Trump is just one thing. If we have someone who is ready to lead this country, Donald Trump is not going to matter. Thank you.
Congresswoman, a lot of candidates that have come today are obviously not in the top tier, not like Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. And a lot of them have talked about what keeps them going. So what is keeping you going despite missing the September debate and not stellar poll numbers?
It's the people who I'm fighting for. It's my brothers and sisters in uniform who were killed in combat, who don't have a chance to be here to participate in this election. It's for those who did come back and who are very concerned about the kind of leadership that we have in this country that continues to take a toll on our men and women in uniform, on our veterans, on every single American in this country. There is so much at stake in this election and this decision that is before voters in this country. They deserve to have a choice, not just between those who are most famous or well-known in this country, but a real choice because there is contrast and a difference between the experience and the values that we bring. This is why I'm continuing in this race in my hopes to be able to serve the American people as their president.
Do you still see a path to victory of
Yes.
the nomination?
Yes.
What is that? What does that look like?
Continuing to reach out to voters through every means possible, every platform possible. We have a very strong, volunteer-driven, people-powered campaign, and we're spending as much time as possible out on the ground and doing exactly that. And it's what is most inspiring to me, to be honest. If you only watch the news and if you only look at Washington, it's easy to get really disheartened about where we're at. But the kind of energy and optimism that we are seeing in small towns and big cities everywhere we go is what gives me hope that when we stand together, we will bring about the change we need to see.
Congressman, when we last spoke in Iowa a couple of days ago, you bemoaned the lack of discussion among the other candidates, particularly about foreign policy and kind of U.S. foreign policy. So if you're not on the debate stage, how do you center that conversation among your competitors?
I think that the conversation, the conversation needs to be there, given every one of us is asking voters for their trust to be able to serve them as president and commander-in-chief. And if candidates fail to address the commander-in-chief part of this job, then they are failing to serve the interests of voters. All I can do is continue to focus on my campaign, carrying my message out to voters in this country so that this becomes a part of this central conversation, recognizing that you can't separate foreign policy from domestic policy. If candidates just say, well, foreign policy is one of many of the issues that we face, they're dismissing the reality that the vast majority of our taxpayer dollars are going towards funding these wasteful wars, which means they're not going towards paying for better health care for people, they're not going towards better education, paying our teachers, not going to meeting the needs that people have all across this country.
And just going back to that Dubuque event we were at.
Yes.
You had mentioned, just paraphrasing here, that some of the candidates were revising their support for the Iraq War. Was that a nod to the former vice president?
No, not at all. No, the point that I was making was that broadly, it is easier and more popular for politicians and candidates to say today that they were against the Iraq War. But back when that critical vote was taken, there were very few who actually had the courage to stand up and vote against it and speak out against it. And when they did, they were smeared and criticized and accused of hating America, of not being patriots, of supporting Saddam Hussein and loving dictators. My point in all of this is there are regime change efforts and wars that are going on today, but very few politicians have the courage to stand up now when it matters to speak out against them. This is the kind of leadership that we need. Leaders who have the courage to do the right thing at the right time when it actually matters.
Congresswoman, one of your colleagues who recently dropped out, Representative Seth Moulton, spoke a lot about his time overseas serving and then what it was like coming back and struggling with mental health. Just curious if you've experienced any of that and if you could speak to that.
Oh, the transition to go from, I served twice in the Middle East, 2 deployments. One was a year, one was just under a year. I would say it was a tough transition for me, and I think it is for most service members. You spend all that time away from your family. You're in a combat environment, in a war zone. It's not a normal situation. And so there was time that I had to take for myself after both of those deployments to get back on my feet and truly get back home. This experience, and I think this understanding, points to the recognition of how little resources we have right now going towards making sure that that transition is seamless for our service members and veterans, both when they come back from combat, but also when they're making that transition from the military into civilian life. I think this is one of the major areas where the VA and the DoD, frankly, continue to fail our service members in making that transition seamless, and where strong leadership is required so that we don't leave any veteran or any service member behind.
Congresswoman,
Last question.
we currently have a number of treaties that would have the United States get involved in war and foreign affairs. If NATO, if you were president, NATO declared Chapter 5.
Article 5.
Article 5. Would you, as president, follow through with that?
It depends on the situation. It depends. You can't really speak in a hypothetical about this. Article 5 itself leaves a lot of flexibility and leeway to every country that's a member of NATO to make the decision about what role they would play if another NATO member were attacked or were under threat. So I think it would be irresponsible to say in a hypothetical situation without any of the details and understanding yes or no in that. I would make the best decision for the American people, understanding what the cost and consequences would be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much.